There's a sound a man makes when he's breaking inside. It's not the dramatic scream you see in movies. It's quieter, a kind of exhale that doesn't end, a shudder in the dark, the sound of holding yourself together because there's no one else to hold you. I made that sound for 6 months straight, every night, around 3 a.m., in the White House, while a nation tore itself apart and my son's empty bed sat in the room next door. You think you know my story? The rail splitter, the great emancipator, the man on the penny. You don't know the 3 a.m. version of me, the version who walked the halls barefoot because shoes felt like too much effort, who clutched letters from grieving mothers until the paper went soft as cloth, who wondered, honestly wondered, if the world wouldn't be better off if I just stopped. But I didn't stop. And tonight, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened in those dark hours that turned a broken man into an unbreakable force. This isn't history. This is survival. And if you're watching this at 3 a.m. right now, fighting your own battle in the dark, this is for you. My name is Abraham Lincoln, and I need you to listen like your life depends on it, because it might. February 1862. Willie was dying. We knew it. The doctors knew it. 11 years old and fading from typhoid fever while I sat there, President of the United States, unable to command a single cell in his body to fight harder. I had always believed in God, not in the loud, certain way of some preachers, but in a quiet, stubborn way, the way a drowning man believes in air. That night, watching my boy struggle for breath, I stopped believing. Not in God's existence, in God's goodness, in the idea that the universe had any moral order at all. I walked out of Willie's room. Mary wouldn't leave his side. She was hysterical. I had to be the strong one, always the strong one. And I found a closet, a supply closet in the White House. And I closed the door and I screamed into a towel so no one would hear. I screamed until my throat bled, until the towel was wet with tears and snot and rage, until I had no voice left to pray with, even if I'd wanted to. And then I did something worse than screaming. I bargained. I made deals with a God I wasn't sure was listening. Take me instead. Take my other son. Take my presidency. Take my mind. Just give me back this one boy, this one light in my darkness. Silence. Willie died the next day, February 20th, 1862, a Tuesday. I buried him on a Thursday. I stood there in the rain while they lowered him into the ground, and I felt something inside me go cold. Not sad, cold. The kind of cold that doesn't shiver, the kind that just stops. For the next 6 months, I was a ghost wearing a president's clothes. I signed documents I don't remember signing. I met with generals I don't remember meeting. I said words that were technically correct but emotionally empty. And every night, around 3 a.m., I would wake up, not from sleep because I wasn't really sleeping, and I would walk through the East Room where Willie used to play, past the window where he used to wave goodbye, down to the kitchen where he used to steal cookies, and finally, inevitably, to the cemetery. I would stand at his grave, in my nightshirt, sometimes barefoot in the frost, and I would talk to him, tell him about his brother Tad, who couldn't stop crying, about his mother who was losing her mind with grief, about the war which was going badly, which was killing other people's sons while I stood there talking to dirt. Here's what nobody tells you about grief. It doesn't just make you sad. It makes you ashamed. Ashamed that you're still breathing when they stopped. Ashamed that you can't fix it. Ashamed that you have to keep being a person when the only person you wanted to be was their father. I was ashamed to be alive, and I was terrified to die because I didn't know if I'd see him again or if I'd just end. So I existed in this horrible middle place, not living, not dying, just persisting. Until the night everything changed. July 1862, 4 months after Willie died. I was at the Soldiers' Home, a cottage 3 miles from the White House where I went to escape the heat and the memories. I couldn't sleep as usual. Around 3 a.m. I did something I rarely did. I walked to the front gate alone, without my usual guard. I needed to be alone, completely alone. I needed to not be the president for 5 minutes, just be a father who missed his son. The gate was open, and standing there in the moonlight was a woman. She was maybe 30, dressed in black, holding a letter. She didn't look surprised to see me. She looked like she'd been waiting. "Mr. Lincoln," she said. Not a question, a statement. I should have called for security. I should have been afraid. I wasn't. I was too empty to be afraid. "Ma'am," I said, "the gate is closed to visitors at this hour." "I know," she said. "I lost my son at Shiloh 2 months ago. I heard you come here sometimes, at night. I heard you understand." I understood. Those 2 words. No one had said that to me. Everyone had said, "I'm sorry," and "he was a good boy," and "God has a plan." No one had said, "I understand," because no one did. Mary was lost in her own grief. My cabinet was lost in the war. The nation was lost in its divisions. But this woman, this stranger at my gate at 3 a.m., she understood. We didn't talk long, maybe 20 minutes. She told me about her son, a private, 19 years old, killed in his first battle. She told me about the letter she held. It was from him, written 3 days before he died, saying he was scared but proud to fight for the Union. And then she asked me something no one had asked. "Do you regret it? The war? If you hadn't fought, my son would be alive. Your son might be alive. Do you regret it?" I opened my mouth to say the presidential thing, the right thing, the thing about necessary sacrifices and greater goods. Instead, I said, "Every second of every day." She nodded, like that was the right answer. "Then why don't you stop?" "Because," I said, and the words surprised me. "If I stop, his death means nothing. If I stop, Willie died for a country that gave up. If I stop, all the other sons die for nothing. I'm not fighting because I'm sure I'll win. I'm fighting because I'm sure stopping is worse." She handed me the letter. "Keep this. Read it when you want to stop. My son believed in what you're doing, even if you don't believe in yourself right now." She turned and walked away. I never learned her name, never saw her again. I don't even know if she was real, honestly. Sometimes I think she was a grief hallucination, an angel, a fragment of my own mind trying to save me. But I have that letter. I read it 100 times, and it became the bridge between the man who wanted to die and the man who decided to live. September 1862, Antietam. The bloodiest single day in American history. 23,000 casualties in 12 hours. I visited the battlefield 2 days later. The smell. God, the smell. Rotting horses, rotting boys, gunpowder, blood turned to mud in the rain. I saw a young soldier, maybe 16, dying under a tree. He grabbed my coat. "Mr. President," he whispered, "did we win?" I didn't know how to answer. Technically, yes. McClellan had stopped Lee's invasion. But at what cost? For what purpose? We're still here, I said finally. That's winning enough for today. He died smiling. I don't know why. Maybe he just wanted to hear something hopeful from someone in charge. That night back in Washington, I didn't go to the cemetery. I went to my desk, and I wrote. I wrote the thing I'd been afraid to write, the thing that would change everything. The Emancipation Proclamation, not because I was suddenly enlightened, not because I was morally pure, but because I was done being careful, done waiting for perfect conditions, done trying to win a war while keeping slavery intact because I was afraid of the consequences of freedom. I was going to free the slaves, not eventually, not gradually, now. My cabinet tried to stop me. They said it was too radical, too risky, too soon. I said, I have spent 6 months in hell. I have buried my son. I have watched boys die asking me if we won. I am done being careful. I am done being polite. We either mean what we say about liberty or we don't. And if we don't, we deserve to lose this war and this country and everything we claim to be. I signed the preliminary proclamation on September 22nd, 1862, to take effect January 1st, 1863, if the rebellious states didn't return to the Union. They didn't return. Of course they didn't. And on New Year's Eve, 1862, I was back in that same room, alone. 3 a.m. again. But different. I wasn't bargaining with God. I wasn't screaming into towels. I was preparing to sign the final proclamation. And I was afraid. Not of the South, not of the political consequences, of the responsibility, of the weight of 4 million lives depending on my pen stroke. I said a prayer that night, the first real prayer since Willie died, not asking for anything, just acknowledging that I was small and the moment was large, and I needed help being worthy of it. At 2 p.m. on January 1st, 1863, I signed. My hand shook so badly I had to pause. I said, out loud, I never, in my life, felt more certain that I was doing right than I do in signing this paper. And then I said, if my name ever goes into history, it will be for this act, and my whole soul is in it. Pause. Let the weight land. My whole soul. After 6 months of feeling soulless, I had found it again. Not in the graveyard, not in the grief, in the work, in the willingness to risk everything for something that mattered more than my pain. April 14, 1865, Good Friday. The war was essentially won. Lee had surrendered 5 days before. I was tired, more tired than I'd ever been, but I was smiling, actually smiling. I went to Ford's Theater that night. Against my better judgment, honestly. I needed rest, but Mary needed joy. She had lost so much, Willie, her mind for a time, her place in society. She wanted to celebrate. How could I deny her? I held her hand during the play. Our American Cousin, a comedy. I laughed at the jokes. I felt for the first time in years like a normal man on a normal night out with his wife. I don't remember the shot. I remember floating, falling, Mary's scream, then darkness. But here's what I want to tell you, what I need you to hear if you hear nothing else. I was ready, not because I wanted to die, because I had finally learned to live, because those 3 a.m. walks, those broken nights, that stranger at the gate, that decision to sign despite the fear, they had forged me into someone who could face the end without regret. I had built something, not just a preserved union, not just an end to slavery. I had built myself. From the broken pieces of a grieving father into a man who could hold the weight of a nation's conscience. If you had found me at 3 a.m. on April 14, 1865, I wouldn't have been at a grave. I would have been at my desk, probably, working, planning the reconciliation, dreaming of the America we could become now that the nightmare was ending. I died happy, not because life was perfect, because I was finally whole. So here's my question. What time is it for you right now? Not on the clock, in your soul. Are you in your 3 a.m., the dark hour, the breaking point, the moment when you wonder if anyone understands, if anything matters, if you have the strength to keep going? I need you to hear me, right now, like I'm sitting next to you in that darkness. Your 3 a.m. is not your ending. It's your forge. Every great thing I ever did came out of those broken hours. The Emancipation Proclamation was born in grief. My second inaugural, With Malice Toward None, was written by a man who had learned mercy through suffering. My understanding of the American promise came from having it tested almost to destruction. You are not failing because you're in the dark. You're being prepared for the light. So tonight, when you feel like giving up, don't. When you feel like no one understands, reach out anyway. Your stranger at the gate is looking for you too. When you feel like your pain means nothing, transform it. Use it. Build something with it that outlasts the hurt. And when you finally break through, and you will break through, don't forget the 3 a.m. version of yourself. Don't become so successful that you lose your compassion. Don't become so strong that you forget how to be gentle with the broken. I'm Abraham Lincoln. I died at 56, holding my wife's hand, with a smile on my face because I had finally learned that the darkness doesn't last forever. Your darkness won't last either. But what you build in it, that lasts forever. So get up, right now, at 3 a.m. or 3 p.m., or whatever hour this finds you. Get up and start building. Not tomorrow, not when you feel better, not when conditions are perfect. Now, because someone you haven't met yet is going to need what you're about to become. And I promise you, they're worth it. They're worth every broken hour. Now go, build, live. I'll be watching from wherever I am, proud of what you're about to do.